Hey there, dirt bike people. I'm Chuck from TrueTech, and today I'm going to be disassembling the top end on this 2006 YZ250. All right, no sense wasting time. We'll get right at it and pull the head off. Then we can drop the motor on its side and pull out the 4 bolts that hold the power valve cover on. Stick a screwdriver or a pick in this little hole, and that will hold the arm while you undo the bolt. Now we can pry the arm off and just pull it out of the way. Pulling the reed cage out isn't technically required, but why would you do a top end and not check the reeds? Look for cracks, damaged corners, and reeds that are pulling away from the reed cage. Pulling the stator cover off isn't technically required, but it makes it much easier to move the piston up and down during cylinder removal, and you can also check the left side crank seal and the bearing. You can check the bearing by wiggling the flywheel like this, and you can check the crank seal by pulling the stator off. Using an electric impact is definitely the easiest way to get the flywheel nut off. After that, you'll need to use the appropriate flywheel puller, its left-hand thread, to yank the flywheel. Make sure to take note of where the ignition mark is before you take the stator off. These are a number 2 Phillips, and it's often easiest to use an impact, but be careful. If the crank seal has been leaking, you'll see moisture in this cavity and probably drool coming right down there. Now this front power valve cover, you don't necessarily have to take it off, but even if you're not going to take it apart, it's a good idea to pull that cover off and make sure that you don't have any issues in there. Now it's super important to make sure that these little Phillips heads are clean inside, and you also want to use a JIS screwdriver. That's Japanese industry standard. The tips are shaped a little bit differently, and if you don't have one, it often helps to file down the tip of an American style Phillips. Now you can have a look under that cover and make sure that nothing's broken and that the power valve is operating properly. Now we can remove the 4 base nuts that hold the cylinder on. If the gasket's sticky like this one, you can use a rubber mallet and gently tap it. Once you get the cylinder off, you want to use your finger here and check for a ridge at the top of the ring travel. That's the first place the Nickasil will wear. Second place is right above the exhaust port. You'll see a bit of an eyebrow. The Nickasil on this YZ cylinder is really bad. You can see the aluminum coming through around the intake port here. Another pair of checks that I always do is ring end gap, and I also check piston clearance. If you want to see the proper way to do that, I've got a video on that as well. Now in order to get the piston off, we got to just pry one of the piston clips out, and I always hold my thumb over it so it doesn't go flying. Now this piston pin came out pretty easily just with my finger, but sometimes it requires a little bit of tapping. Be careful not to put a bunch of side load on the connecting rod though. For more walkthroughs and other dirt bike mechanical related stuff, subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram.